Hey, hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I am live, so let's see here. Hopefully, we can get a few people to pop on today. I'm not sure if my brother Dave is going to join me, so we might give it a minute. Give him a chance to pop on if he's going to pop on, but yeah, so anyway, I just hopped out of the cold plunge. Got my morning routine down. And there's my wife. So hopefully everybody can hear me. I'll give Dave a second to pop on if he's going to join. But yeah, anyway, started my morning bright and early. Definitely tired. Played a round of golf yesterday for a charity tournament for Fellowship Christian athletes. So that was awesome. But anyway, so typically, well, let's see, man, look at all these things coming in. So what am I going to talk about today? One of the things that I have been working through for myself has been, why do I feel this calling to coach? What is it that I have within me that says men like me need a coach? And so, let me tell you a story. So, like 4+ years ago, I ended up joining Sean Whalen's Lion's Den. And I joined because I just felt something was missing, right? Like I felt like I needed a group that I was able to go to and bounce ideas off of, ask questions, seek answers that I was looking for in areas that, I had no experience in. And so I remember, the other day we talked about, the limiting belief of money scarcity. And when I looked at the Lion's Den, I think it was like $150 a month at the time. And so at that time, I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can spend that, $150 a month. And my wife basically told me, no, you're going to join. You need this. Like you need to be around a group of people of your peers, and you need to be around people that are like-minded like you and are going to help you grow and expand and get you to the next level. So she basically told me that, hey, if you don't join, I'm going to join for you. So that was like 4 years, give or take. So, hey, good morning, James. So that was, 4 years ago, give or take. So I'm still in the Lion's Den, still partake in that type of coaching. But what is it within me that I feel that, especially men, why do I feel called to help lead them? And so, again, I think that my background in the fire department, I think the way that, oh, there he is. All right. David, I will bring you on. Let's see. Keep chat until you pop in. But I feel called to lead men because, oh, let's see. There he is. All right.
What's up, brother?
Oh, let's see here.
Sorry about missing you earlier.
Let me make sure. Can't hear you right now, Dave. This happened last time, so there we go.
Sweet.
All right, what's going on, brother? Everybody, this is Mr. David Barefoot himself. What is going on, man?
Much better day. Yesterday was one of those days where course corrections were necessary. But I got to look back and, like, how I'm in our app, we see the man rise as we make our steps in our core four.
Yeah.
It's like my guy was going, and then go back to the knee and then like take a little bit higher. He only made it to here. He didn't make it to like full shining light. But
he was doing squats for the day.
Yeah,
huh?
Exactly. Yeah. But good.
Well, everybody.
And this morning, it's so cool to have a stacking tool where you get to look at what story am I believing that's standing in the way of me rising today, and just like clean the pipes and just stand on solid ground, you know, for the day.
Yeah. Well,
So today's a good day.
let's definitely get into that. But first, before we do, who's Mr. David Barefoot and what is the Holy Shift? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a guy that is on fire for life. That begins with a relationship with a living God, not a religious God. That's a whole transformational story in my life that was radical. The amazing, battle-ready woman that I do life with, my wife Beth, and then 3 kids, 2 of them married, and all 3 of them are warriors themselves. They just don't fully know what that means, but just love seeing young adults, 34, 29, and 21, that love themselves in their own skin, know what they believe and why they believe it, willing to take a stand for it. So that to me has been, so who am I? I'm somebody who's fired up about that aspect of oneness with God, oneness with my wife, oneness with my kids. It's been a rough and rocky journey to learn how to do that. From a business standpoint, holy shift, it's just going from holy shit moments in life to holy shift. And,
Nice.
you know,
I
I
love
woke
it.
up in a 10-year cave journey where I just pulled back from mankind and given up on everything worthwhile. And just fortunately, I grew with God, grew with my wife, but I stopped connecting, stopped growing. My business stagnated. I just wasn't on fire. I lost that mojo because I just saw the church and religion and politics and government and just everything broken, and everyone that I knew was lying, and me included. And so you could see it but not know. So anyway, the holy shift was me recognizing the word holy in its origin means other than, set apart from this broken fallen world. And again, I'm not getting religious, so there's a shift, and I spell shift SHYFT because the Y is a choice. We're going to hit choices all day long. Am I going to choose to shift
Absolutely.
other than, or am I just going to take and settle for less than? So that's,
Man, I love that. I love that whole breakdown that you just did. That is so awesome.
yeah, thanks
So
for letting
cool.
me share it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love your
So
Rise to Reign thing that you're putting together, man. I love the name.
thank
Ironically,
you.
reigning to me is something that is just this gift we get to do. So I think it's awesome that you have
Yeah.
that program for to learning more.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah. It was difficult to figure out what I wanted to do with it, but that's kind of what I was talking about before you joined, was just like, this call to lead men to just rise and like have reign over their life and their choices and their dominion, their kingdom. And so so that's my version of the holy shift.
Yeah. It's funny. So literally, the only reason I knew you were alive, I know we talked about, connecting. My daughter, youngest daughter, works with me, and she came in the office and she goes, "Man, you and Beard Man have a bro relationship going, and you're Beard Man." And she goes, "In fact, he just went live," or said he pinged about going live because she handles some of my marketing, and so
Oh,
she's
nice.
able to. And I said, yeah, I said, the guy is just the real deal. And I said, I've shared with her how I needed men around me that don't lie, that are willing to admit that we know how to lie. We were trained how to lie, but we don't want to live a lying life. And it takes an operating system. It takes a commitment. It takes an operating system. And then it takes a band of brothers that'll stand with you and model it and not judge you or give you guilt or shame, or just create space for you to be
Right.
able to learn a different way of living than the less than bullshit that the world settles for.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. I received that for sure. So, getting into your journey, like let's talk a little bit about, so I don't know if you know, but basically what I'm calling this little mini series is Real, Raw, and Radical. And so, every other brother that I've had on, they've shared their real, raw, and radical, basically, prior, like where they were in the pit before Warrior, and then where they're at now, what they're working on now. So where were you before you found Warrior?
So we'll start there. We could have gone further back because I'm old enough to have a few pit to peak journeys, but
Oh yeah.
that's a good pick. What you heard me saying about being in the cave, I literally had done this, had risen in the four key areas of life. I'd risen in body to some degree and plateaued. I had risen in some degree with my marriage and plateaued. I had risen in some degree in my being and plateaued. And in my business, same thing. And so everything was milquetoast. Everything was just, and I was still lying and
Yeah.
pretending that was great. I love a phrase that we use, king of the shitheads. So as long as I stayed in a small tank, I could feel good. But it was a lie, and it was affecting my marriage. So I said everything was good, right? Oh, wait a minute, let's peel back a little farther. So my pit was, I was living a dysfunctional lie. And two things happened. One, I recognized my wife fed up with the less than life, and she would sit in a chair, literally in our living room, or wake up multiple times at 2 or 3 in the morning, and she would sit up and just start railing at God, talking to him as her father, and going, "This is fucking unacceptable.
Wow.
This is not the way you would want to treat me. I know this is not from you. Daddy, you got to fix this. I can't, you must." And she's railing. I'm going, thinking lightning's going to strike.
Wow.
But I watched her change before my eyes. I watched her rise from settling for less than, while I was sitting here just being, satisfied, if you will. And what came from that was recognizing you can't give what you don't have. And we're not supposed to. I don't call the Bible anymore, just for now. For a season, I call it the book of how to have a kick-ass life, this ancient book that just because people trip up over stuff. But in there it says, we love because he first loved us. And that wrecked me. So you asked about the pit to peak. I had to get my ass kicked and realize I don't even know how to love. I don't know how to give love, receive love. My wife, we had gone as far as we were ever going to go. Me and my kids, they all turned out great. Obviously something was going okay, but the truth was my connection with them, my enjoying it was just that feeling where you're like, if this is all there is, and I'm this young and healthy, and I'm going to live another 50, 60 years, for what?
Yeah.
It just lost all its flavor. So anyway, there's plenty more. Like that included. Now all of a sudden, when you become aware, things get worse, not better. Because what a loser you are, what an asshole you are, and so. And my wife's in awareness, I'm in awareness, that's banging up against each other. We know we love one another, and then at the same time, we know this just isn't going to work anymore. So at least twice on the journey, easily, we could have said, there was one day I remember saying, look, you're going to be okay, I'm going to be okay. We were before, we are together, whatever we just have to start from, we're going to be okay, no matter what. And that was another floor. Like turning ceilings into floors is what Holy Shift is about also. Like when you've hit a ceiling, why feel bad? That's exciting. Okay, now how do we turn this into a floor? What got me to here isn't going to get me where I want to go. So let me figure out what I've learned and then say, okay, how do I flip it and see it differently? So anyway, back to you saying Warrior, I'll wrap it up. Me finding, I watched for a while from the outside, and I saw the stack tool early on, and I only saw it from the idea of walking around the building. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So all I understood was there are stories that I'm living and choosing to believe that are creating an outcome. And I knew from my prior trainings and things I've done in coaching and consulting and businesses that I've built, ran, crashed in the ground, recovered, done whatever, and all those, the limiting beliefs become patterns, and the patterns become, recipe for destruction if you keep repeating them. And so the idea of the stack was a chance to step back and look at it from many different perspectives and go, that won't get me where I want to go. So it's time to stop. what would get me where do I want to go? And that's a whole nother conversation. You asked the first pit to peak. The pit to peak I'm in right now is realizing I don't know how to desire well. So I'm on a passionate journey right now to learn to take the atrophied desire muscle. And I really figured out it's an epidemic for men, as you probably know. I just didn't realize it. We suck at knowing what we want. It wasn't okay to want. We're supposed to man up. I have no needs. So
do you think that's a programming from somewhere in your childhood or previous job, or I mean, where do you think that comes from?
great question. So I had to stack it and dig into it. And it went all the way back to my father, who was verbally abusive and unavailable and completely like just narcissistic, off the charts, and picked a sad path his whole life. But I remember at ages, I can't even remember what color the walls were in my room. So I don't know what age it was, but it was an age where guys don't seem to remember as early as girls do. But it was way early single digits where I learned I have to be in control of the situation to be safe. And if I don't share my desires, then I can't be let down. And so I just, you hurt me because I don't want anything. You can't take anything from me. So I was married 12 years before my current 25-year marriage. And that marriage yielded 2 beautiful kids. My wife and I are still great friends with my ex. We lived on the same street for 8 years. It had a great outcome for our kids. As you can imagine, we weren't enemies. We just were dead because I'll just speak for myself and take responsibility. My ex would have her perspective as well, but I just wasn't, I had no desires. I never showed hurt, never showed fear, never showed doubt. All my mentors that I put on pedestals never showed hurt, fear, or doubt. So what attracted me to Warrior was a leader who does show hurt, fear, and doubt, isn't afraid of it. He says the darkness is where the breakthrough is. And so anyway, I don't know if I answered your question in my...
No, man, I love it. There's just so much good and like good, just great nuggets in there to unpack. Like, I mean, it's just it's inspiring. You know, like you said a few things, you know, about limiting beliefs. I did a live on that yesterday. You know, you're talking about stacking. My stacking this morning was all about collision with myself, like collision of like doing the stuff that I know I don't need to do, or not doing the stuff that I need to do. Like, it's just, you know, and that's what's so powerful about, you know, just having this conversation with you and getting a different perspective. You know, having similar journeys, similar paths that we're on, because I keep saying it. It's like we're all on the same path. We're just at different stops along the way.
Yeah.
And you know, like we all, it's weird. I almost feel like we all have the same desires, like you were talking about. You don't know how to desire more. You know, like one thing I adamantly believe is we do desire the same things, right? We desire more time, more money, more freedom. Like those 3 things I feel like are universal. Now they may look different to each and every individual because we're all unique, but that's kind of the path that we're all going towards.
And I agree. If you were to flip what you just said for a second, because I did a stack that was different this morning than doesn't relate, but what does relate is after the stack, I was reflecting on this and thought, what was it that stood in the way of me making this shift sooner? And what is it that stands in the way of men saying yes to the Rise to Reign program that you have? I mean, just for a second, think of just the title. It's a chance to learn how to rise to reign like a king. So I don't have to know even the contents. I happen to know you and know, but someone could say, so either this guy's full of shit or he actually has some strategies, technologies, operating system where he could show me how to rise from where I'm at to reigning. You got a multi-6-digit per month business, your family's rocking, you're healthy, your kids are on fire. Like someone could look at you and go, he's reigning. Like he's not perfect, so I can trust him even more. So, okay, we can rise to reign. So then why wouldn't I say yes? And one of the reasons is me calculating what I would have to give up. And so back to now to the desire thing, and you saying we all desire the same thing. You ever seen a sport, curling? in
Oh
the
yeah.
Olympics, or, so they have that puck, right? They push on the ice and then they sweep the ice to make it go faster, farther, slower, whatever, right? So I think of there being a resistance. Some people call it an enemy. Some people call it the devil, whatever you want. Once you know who you are, a reigning king that's meant to have a phenomenal life, you're unstoppable. So then the only thing the enemy can do is polish the ice to get us to overplay our hand and let what was meant for good become a weakness. So
Yeah.
what would be an example? Men, we love to feel connection. And so we have it with our wife when we're falling in love, when we're in lust and love, when we're in honeymoon stage. And next thing you know, we start and we're speaking everything that says we're pursuing them, and they're speaking everything that says, please pursue me, and we feel, right? So
Yeah.
we all desire the same thing, connection. But what happens with it, how does it get distorted? All of a sudden, we're settling into our own lanes, and let's say my wife starts to communicate a few things less that aren't normal for her outside of falling in love, because there's other things to get done, and I start picking just a few of my communication patterns, and before you know it, she's not sending the same messages the same way she used to, and I'm not responding or sending the same. And so, right, it starts to veer a little. And so I go to porn or whatever happens. Why? Because I'm seeking connection. We want the same thing. She's longing for connection. The less connected I am to her, the more she sends messages that says, screw you, and is less pursuable, and yet telling me it's my fault because I'm not pursuing her. What?
Yeah.
We want
Yeah.
the same thing,
What a
So
great example. Yeah.
it just,
Fantastic example. Yeah. It was funny. It was funny you said that. So last night I went real quick. I went to a golfing charity for this fellowship Christian athletes, and golf with my brother and some good friends. And I was just kind of downloading with my
can
wife
I
last night. And
ask one quick question before you
yeah,
move on?
yes.
You went to a Christian golf outing. Did you hide a couple of golf balls in your beard so if you needed to reset a shot,
No,
you could have?
I put all the golf balls in the woods.
Yeah,
They were so,
yeah, but then you just
no,
drop from your beard and no one
yeah.
knows. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a beautiful course. But yeah, so I don't remember exactly what I was talking to my wife, but it was like I didn't even realize it, but I was like, holy shit. So I've been my wife, since method and all that stuff, I've been teaching her about pit to peak, and we're implementing those systems into our business, which is some of the tools that we talked about. And so I looked at her, I said, you realize this rise to rain is a pit to peak. Like I pit to peak my own coaching business name. And like it just hit me last night. I was like, isn't that funny how that works, So I know I'm on the right path with that. So, but yeah, just a little side note there. But
So
so
the irony is, I was going to tell you offline, but I might as well tell you. So I have two URLs I grabbed because for the technologies I teach companies, and I want to integrate them with individuals, right? For the Holy Shift, and one is Reign the Frame, and that's the long-term a journey that maps out how to get A to Z, and won't go into detail for now. The starter package, if you will, on how to prepare for that journey is Frame the Rain, which is kind of like Rise to Rain. There's
yeah,
heavy similarities. Like before I can reign my frame, and the frame is just whatever the frame is at the moment. I'm with you right now. You are my frame. There's plenty of other things I need to get done. You do too, but
yep,
I'm all in it. So the more present I am, the more I can enjoy the time with you, the more we can engage and maybe speak
absolutely.
life into others, right? And so, but before I can reign my frame, I got to kind of frame, who am I? What is my reign? Am I going to live by a code and tell the truth? Am I going to, have a foundation of a core four? Am I going to, you get, where I'm going. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great segue before we wap this up. But we started talking about how you were having trouble rising yesterday. Do you want to go into that a little bit? Like what were you dealing with, and how did you overcome that? Because so many times a lot of times we just throw in the towel. Like, we got all this shit coming at us, we got all these things going on, and sometimes we just go, to hell with it, I'm throwing in the towel. But obviously you succeeded, and as I was looking at your stories this morning, I saw that progression. So
yeah, so I want to do it in a way that's concise enough because we're wrapping up, and I agree that it's worth doing the high level here. In the early morning yesterday, after a great stack, I came out of that. Actually, it wasn't a great stack; it was a painful stack, quite frankly. And so it was great in that I saw some stuff, but what I saw was really ugly, and it involved having to share it with my wife. Not ugly about us or our relationship, but ugly about me.
Yeah.
And stuff that I know she has seen and she's been longing for me to recognize. Still, it's painful to talk about out loud, with the person I love most on the earth. And so that resulted in having to look at a series of failures instead of the victories associated with the failures. Because sometimes if we really want to, as you know, look at the story we were believing, we don't get to take ourselves out of the pain. We got to stay in it. Otherwise, so we visited, and especially people of faith, like they just faith it. The whole thing I got so mad about because of the happy religious world is we start to feel a little pain and we come up with some scripture to just make it all okay. That is lunacy, because all I do is sweep the necrosis cells off into the side so they can grow into something even worse. And I want to look at I just saw a post from your wife. I can't wait to learn more about what you guys have to say about fighter cells and what she does in her wellness scenario. But I believe the body's a self-healing machine. It's how it's made. So back to yesterday, I had to take all of those rotting, stinky cells out, and it rocked me more than I expected. So all of a sudden, I was not on my game and had a day that needed to be optimized for a great week. And so, but the awareness, the superpower of awareness, like instantly now there's this awareness that I'm not aligned. So I'm already in a holy shit moment. It's too late. I crashed into by choice. But the great news is I now know there's a pony in this pile of poop, if you've ever heard that joke or story. Okay, so we'll close with that in a minute. So let me just shift my focus and first just say, I can't, you must, like my wife used to do, railing in the chair, laying in bed, and all of a sudden it's no longer on me and I'm outside of my self-righteousness, which I know if I had the answers, I'd already be rising. But I can go, work from victory instead of for it, from abundance instead of from scarcity. So that first just gave hope, which is confident expectation of something good by definition. So now from there, I can say, what do I want? And start to flex that muscle. I want to get my day back on track. I didn't go for something huge. I want to make, I want to make passionate love to my wife right now, or I want to make $1 million right now, or I just want to get back on track. And so then I said, what can I do to do that? And so I started to change, first of all, I had to get up and move and change my state of being and then my focus. And so, okay, we always are going to start to drift. How quickly do we recognize that we're not aligned and on fire? And then just boop, shift, make the shift, make the course correction, and maintain altitude. And it just, that little piece turned a bad day into a super victorious day as I look back on it this morning, because that's as bad as it gets.
That is so awesome. Quick random question. Do you cold plunge at all?
So I just texted a buddy. So we're in a situation where there's not an ideal spot. My office here, I have a place I could. So I just sent a buddy who has one, this little almost portable, and then you can buy the separate chiller.
That's exactly
to go with
exactly what I have. Yep.
Okay, so I was thinking, great, I'll talk to you later, because I was thinking of getting that one, dropping it in here. So have I cold plunged? Yes. Do I try and cold shower, which is a joke in Florida? On the coldest temperature when I travel, I find whatever spots that have sauna so I sauna regularly. I just need to add the cold plunge. But you asked.
The only reason I ask is because there's been a lot of times that I've been in that situation that you just described, and there's something that happens when you put your body in that environment that totally shifts your mental. So I'm not smart enough to explain the physiology like my wife who's a doctor would be able to, but it's just like there's such a mindset shift by hopping into that freezing cold water that your body's saying, get the fuck out of here, like you need to get out of the situation. But I just find for me, like when I am in that place, I'm in that pit, and I need to get some clarity and I need to move forward. And instead of like, oh, I'm just going to throw in the towel, like I hop in the cold plunge. And
So
it
good. My
is,
son actually explained what you're saying to me when we were going down the journey, and I was starting to do the cold showers regularly, and then fine
yep,
plunges when I could. And our gym had a cryo sauna, which I'm glad if people love it. I just don't find the same,
yeah,
um, you know, mind body physiological connection. But he said instead of the science, which he gets the whole science, he goes, why don't I just tell you this? When you're sitting in there, nasal breathing, sending a message that you're not in fight or flight and you're okay, he goes, you've just shifted, right? So,
yep,
and then he said, Dad, mapping that over into daily life, so if I'm in a workout and I'm bouncing against red line, I can just kind of nasal breathe for a minute and go, I'm okay,
yeah,
so, but to your point,
yeah.
apply it to yesterday and course correcting. I got something I want to get, has me get tight and go into fight or flight. Hop in the cold plunge. That's brilliant. So you got me motivated to get
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, definitely. We can touch base on it too. Yeah, it's just doing something that's immediately hard. Like when I walk down into my basement where mine's at, like I already start shivering before I even get in because my mind's like, I know what's coming,
Yeah.
and it starts getting ready, and then you get in, and you have to go to a place where you can do that nasal breathing and you can calm yourself, and it just, I mean, it's changed my life, that's for sure. So,
I like
but
that you chose to reference the shivering instead of the sphincter squeeze that also takes place as you're walking down there as well.
that's right when you get in. So,
All right. So
but
pony, you want me to wrap up with the pony and the poop?
yeah, let's hear it.
So it's anticlimactic, but it just had an impact on me when I was a kid. In my younger journey from one of my mentors, there's this guy Timmy, this kid, and he's always in this great mood at this farm that they work on, and they're like concerned because the farm life is kind of rough, and the farmers wanted to teach this kid in the stables. The family talked about this kid's going to have a tough life. We got to show him, life isn't all roses and ponies. And so I said, I got it. Let's make him work at the stable this summer. And so they take him down to the stable and they have him, tell him to clean out these 12 stables. He's just whistling, just moving the hay, doing whatever. And finally they're like, nothing's working. So they take him to the manure bin and they throw him in there and tell him and it's like way above his head. And they just throw him in. They don't tell him anything. Just leave him in there and say, well, let's just leave him there for an hour and come back and see what happens. And they come back. He's got crap all over him. He's still slinging poo. It's stacked up, and he's like created these little trails in there. And he's just whistling and excited. They go, Timmy, what's going on? He goes, there's got to be a pony in here with all this poop. So it's anticlimactic, like I said, but no matter what, his attitude was, if there's poop, then there's, something that creates poop,
Yeah.
something. I don't know. You might want to cut that one out of the live before
Nah,
you.
nah, man, it's all real raw. So, but well, anyway, brother, I appreciate this conversation. I think there's a lot of good stuff that anybody that watches, they'll just see the value in it. And so, again, I appreciate you. Appreciate seeing you. I know it's been a month since we're in trainer already, but hopefully I'll see you soon in council and Dan Point.
And thank you, because yesterday part of the quick course correction was knowing people like you and a couple other, brothers come to mind. And that's all I need, that extra reminder too. So thank you. Have a rocking day and look forward to connecting soon.
All right, man. Have a great one.
See you, man. Bye.